SuperTalk Mississippi media production. Middays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. Middays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Well, top of the morning to ye, as they say in Ireland. Good morning. Welcome to Middays on Game Day. It's a big day. We're excited. We have staff on the ground in Arizona ready to go with it. We're going to bring you coverage all throughout the day on the Ole Miss and the Losers game. Is that jinxing it, Rhino, when I say that way?
I wouldn't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, you got the game involves Ole Miss and the people who are going to lose. So that's just, to me, a statement of fact, I think. How you doing this morning, man?
Oh, not too terribly bad. We've made it to Friday Eve, so I won't have any complaints.
No. And, of course, as always, complaints are a waste of breath and time because nobody cares. That's hard-won experience in my life. Nobody is concerned whatsoever, so you might as well just enjoy it. Coming up in the next segment, some of our team on the ground out there, Caleb Sailors with SuperTalk Mississippi News is going to be joining us to tell us about what's going on. That's got to be a fun atmosphere out there right now, you would think.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, you think about just the general excitement you have around a college football game, the pageantry, the traditions, all of the festivities and fun, and then you just kind of crank it up to 11 because there are only 4 teams still alive. And after these games, there'll be 2, and they're playing for it all. So you have that normal level of excitement just amped up.
Well, and the bookmakers have done Ole Miss a favor, if you ask me. Because as of this morning, the line is Ole Miss is a 3.5-point underdog. So the chip remains firmly in place on the shoulders of the Rebels. They've had it for a while. This whole postseason has been, in my opinion, at least partially defined by the chip on their shoulder. Well, nobody bothered to take it off for them. Oh, no, we're going to pile on it. Please tell them they're not going to win. That's motivation for this crew, I think. That's what we've seen all season long, and especially in the postseason. And today is no exception, I think. I would assume the line is now kind of locked in for this game. I wouldn't think it would change today.
Well, I mean, it could change, but that would take a whole bunch of money going one way or the other. And I feel like if you've got a big bet on this one, you've already made it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's pretty much going to be the line at kickoff. Over under, I think, is 52.5, which is, I don't know. I feel like that's high because we have 2 really good defenses facing off against each other today. I would expect, unless they both just collapse and we have a boat race, I don't know that we're going to have a 27-24 game. I think it'll be lower than that. That's my projection. That's my prediction. It's worth absolutely nothing.
I'm just trying to think of what are the crazy college overtime rules, because if it's really a defensive struggle and they're really struggling to score in regulation, but you have some insane amount of overtimes, it could get to 55.
Yeah, true. Very true. And if we get into that situation, the game may still be going on when you and I come back tomorrow at 10. They may still be playing out there because we've seen some that in some instances where you pile 10 overtimes on, and you have basically a second game after the first game ends before somebody finally wins. So going to be a great time, though. It's going to be a great experience, and I'll be interested to see. I've heard reports already that, to absolutely no one's surprise who knows anything, Ole Miss has traveled well for this game. And I believe that'll be borne out. I don't think it's going to be quite as overwhelming as the Sugar Bowl. That was a home game. That was an Ole Miss Rebel home game. Might as well have been at Vaught Hemingway. Arizona, a little bit of a harder pull, but I think everyone's going to be pleasantly surprised with how well Ole Miss traveled for this game.
I just wonder how many fans from both Ole Miss and Miami have made the drive. I know there were a lot of flights, but not everybody could fly. So I just wonder, because that Miami drive was like the drive from Oxford to Phoenix would not be a fun drive. That would be pretty tedious and taxing. But Miami to Phoenix, that is a long haul.
Well, I'll put it like this. When I was a kid, my parents decided to engage in that American pastime that I personally couldn't afford now, which is take the family to Disney World. And same thing, they drove. That, and my mom hates flying, so we drove it. That was like 10, 13 hours just to Orlando from South Mississippi. Now, you got several hours to go past Orlando to get down to Miami. So if you're leaving Miami and you're driving, what is it? Look it up. What's the length of the drive if you're driving from Miami to Phoenix? How long is that going to take you? I mean, they better have left like Monday.
Google doesn't even think you should drive. It's like, here's the flights. The fastest route, according to the Google box, is 33 hours and 35 minutes.
Holy cow. So I wasn't
55 hours if you want to take the bus.
Oh, yeah. I hope you have more love for yourself than to take a 55-hour bus ride. How did you hurt yourself in the past that you're trying to get back at you now by taking a 55-hour bus ride?
If somebody spent 55 hours on the bus to see Miami play, win or lose, Miami should fly them back.
Well, that's the problem. You take a 55-hour bus drive, win or lose tomorrow, you got to make the drive back. So that will be 110 hours just in travel time for a 3-hour football game. I mean, that's dedication, but it's also a little bit insane, if you ask me. It's not much better with the 33 hours because if you put in a hard day, you got team drivers, and you put in 12 hours a day driving. That's 3 days. They should have left on Monday. I wasn't even exaggerating. Oh, I can make it in one day. Yeah, you're not going to be worth anything. You're going to fall asleep in the Fiesta Bowl, in your seat, if you just drive it straight through. So, yeah, I think you kind of have to fly that, I would think. That would be my thought. I hope everybody that went flew. That's good, because, again, remember, that's 33 hours from Mississippi to Arizona. And then tomorrow, there's another 33 hours to come home. And then on top of it, with an Ole Miss win tonight, you got to start plotting out your next trip. You're not done driving at that point. Holy cow. But you know what? You do what you got to do to support your folks, to support your team. And I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised. There's going to be a lot of people out there. That's my prediction. That's my thought. May be wrong, but we'll see. Had a little action in the legislature yesterday. Boy, they opened up the session and said, well, get to work, and just started doing stuff a little bit more quickly than we've seen in the past, I feel like, Rhino.
Somewhat. I mean, there have been... about that many bills dropped in the first week of a session a couple times, but it's not usual.
Yeah, and I mean, you had the Senate Appropriations Committee that voted on the PERS thing and passed it out of committee 5 minutes after the session opened. They were ready to quit talking about it. You could tell. And also, I said this yesterday on the local show, I think that was indicative of how much discussion and how much work went into that during the off-session months. Trust me, on that or any issue, the legislature didn't walk through the door this week on Tuesday and say, well, okay, anybody against? No? Good. And then just move on. No, there was plenty of discussion and work that went on outside of the session to make that happen. We'll talk more about that as we go on, but right now we're getting ready for Caleb Sailors from SuperTalk Mississippi News. He will join us next from Arizona.
Nowadays, this segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Middays with Gerard.
Good for America. Good for fans of justice and truth. Good for us.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
This is what we stand for.
Welcome back. Middays in the Element Wealth Studios on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes in today. And it's time to head on out to Arizona with our buddy, the one and only Caleb Sailors, our Fiesta Bowl coverage brought to you by Good Hope Land and Timber, Youngling Flight, U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, Pylium Corporation, Barnes Crossing Auto Group, and the Mississippi Hospital Association. Caleb, how you doing, sir?
Dave, I don't know if I could be doing any better right now. I mean, look at this scene behind me. Look at this. Mountains, valleys, everything. It is just gorgeous out here in Phoenix right now, man.
Is it really a dry heat?
It's not. It's actually cold. It's about 55 degrees here right now. It's chilly.
Oh, wow.
And it rained. And it rained, too. So I don't know what it is. I guess Mississippi brings the rain and some cold weather out here. But it is very dry, though. When I got off the plane last night, I was like, ooh, I need some water. But my breath is just taken away right now.
Well, and I think it's probably taken away for a lot more reasons than just the weather, because this is a big deal. This is a big day for the entire state of Mississippi, with Ole Miss out there, and also equally as impressive with Caleb Sailors out there. Have you been signing autographs?
No, but I have had a couple of people bump into me that knew me that I didn't know, that knew me from social media or knew me from here, from Super Talk. And so it was really cool to see. I would definitely not call them fans by any means, but it was cool to see people that were like, oh, yeah, I hear you on the radio all the time, man. Keep up the good work. And so, no, it's incredible. But this moment is huge for the state of Mississippi, Dave. I mean, this football game coming up this evening is not just the biggest game in Ole Miss history. This is the biggest college football game in the state of Mississippi history. I mean, this is going to be insane. Ole Miss has never been in this position before. And how crazy is it that Ole Miss gets to the college football playoff and then just goes on this magnificent run? It kind of reminds me of 2022. Ole Miss had finally gotten to Omaha in college baseball. Mike Bianco's team had been so long without getting there, and they finally break the glass ceiling, and they're like, oh, we're not here just to be here. We're here to win it all. And I think Pete Golding has kind of instilled that mindset in this football team, the why not us? Why not? There's 4 teams left. Why not us? And so I'm really looking forward to seeing if the Rebels, how they put their best foot forward tonight.
Well, and that's the thing, because to say this has been an unusual postseason for college football would be the understatement of the century. This entire situation has been wild ever since, before the playoffs even began. And now we're here, and you kind of get the feeling that at some point, I would think the team has to reach the point to where they're like, Yeah, what else can happen? We don't care. Bring it. Come on. It doesn't matter to us. You kind of have to get to that point defensively in your mind, don't you?
Yes, and one thing I've really been impressed with this team about is after the Sugar Bowl, I'm in the locker room interviewing players, and one of the common themes from everybody I've talked to is how bought in to the message that Pete Golding has presented, how bought into them, how bought in they are to him as a head coach, how bought in they are to him as a leader. Because Ole Miss went through a very unprecedented situation with Lane Kiffin leaving a playoff team to go to a school that's not in the playoff right now, a school that has not won as many college football playoff games as Ole Miss has right now, and he wanted an easier path to the championship. Well, Ole Miss is one game away from it right now, and it's cool to see the players being like, you know what, we do have a coach and a leader that's been with us the whole time, and that's with us now, and that's leading this charge. And Pete Golding kind of echoed some of those sentiments, saying these players really don't care as much who leads them out of the tunnel on game day, just that someone's doing it. And he's embodied that role of a mentor as a coach, kind of a father figure of sorts, and the team is just bought in. And so, I don't think the gravity of the moment's going to get to them until after it's all said and done.
Well, that's when you get nervous, is when it's over. That's when you get the butterflies. That's the best way to do it. What is your sense? Have you gotten a sense of how well Ole Miss has traveled to Arizona for the game?
Dave, it is ridiculous. So yesterday, and even the day before, but yesterday specifically, I had gotten text and direct messages on social media out of Jackson, Memphis, New Orleans, Dallas, Birmingham, Nashville. I mean, I'm just going to list the whole Southeast, Atlanta, and powder blue, red, everywhere. And when I landed in Phoenix last night, Dave, the Ole Miss crowd outnumbered the Miami crowd 8-1. I mean, it was ridiculous how many more Ole Miss fans that were there and how many more I've seen since being here. I think it's going to be an Ole Miss heavy crowd. I know athletics director Keith Carter told our friend Richard Cross that he's expecting around 30, maybe 35,000 Ole Miss fans here. Dave, not to be hyperbolic, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw more.
Well, even that 35,000 would be a huge turnout, because we were doing the research in the last segment. If you're not going to fly, and my condolences if you didn't fly it, that's a 33-hour drive from Mississippi to Arizona. There's a lot of dedication that is going into supporting the Rebels today.
Yeah, that's a 33-hour commitment.
Well,
but
no,
you're right, though. The people have spent their hard-earned time, effort, and money and energy. And I talked to Gerard about this yesterday. A lot of people's Christmases kind of predicated around this postseason run. And I know plenty of families that were like, all right, well, if Ole Miss wins the first game, we'll go to the Sugar Bowl. If they win the next game, we'll go to the the Fiesta Bowl. And if they win the next game, we'll go down to Miami for the national championship. And that's kind of the de facto Christmas for a lot of people. But yes, the dedication has been crazy. I know some people have joked they've practically had to quit their jobs just to go on this postseason run with the Rebels.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not a 33-hour commitment. It's a 66-hour commitment, because after the game, you got to drive back home. That's an entire week in like the first week of the year that you got to burn taking off from work right out of the gate. And if they win tonight, well, you got next week. You got to take some time and figure out how to get there. So, yeah, it is an enormous commitment, but you know what? We're good for it.
That's right. And the time is one thing. Now think of the dollars people are spending too. That's the real commitment right there. In this economy, woof.
They'd tell me about, well, in any economy at this point, but it's going to be a fantastic game no matter what. It's going to be made even more fantastic when the Rebels win. I am not jinxing anything. I am just stating facts. That's the way we work here. But the excitement, I'm sure, is palpable out there. I know it's got to be the experience of a lifetime for you out in Arizona, getting wet and cold, which is a weird sentence to say, to watch the Ole Miss Rebels. Just give us some basic facts like anybody doesn't know at this point about kickoff time and everything else. I think it's 6:30 our time, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be 6:30 Central Time, 5:30 here in the mountain where I am, and then it'll be on ESPN. And, of course, dial into your participating SuperTalk Mississippi stations. Go to supertalk.fm. I mean, we've got you covered. David Kellum will be on the play-by-play, the longtime Ole Miss broadcaster, but SuperTalk Mississippi is going to be making it happen not only on the broadcast, but look on the editorial side on social media. Y'all keep up with me, Caleb Sailors ST on X. Y'all find us, SuperTalk and SuperTalk News on X, and we're going to be keeping you covered with everything from the sideshows surrounding the game and the game itself.
All of our coverage, the SuperTalk Mississippi News coverage, our coverage here, brought to you by the folks at Good Hope Land and Timber, Youngling Flight, U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, Pillium Corporation, Barnes Crossing Auto Group, and the Mississippi Hospital Association. Probably the biggest question I have left for you, Caleb, and this is an important one. When you're in town for a big game, this is a very important consideration. What you eating?
Whatever I can. We just had a media breakfast here at the Media Hotel, and the breakfast was fantastic. But honestly, I'm the least picky eater on earth, Dave, so anything I can get my hands on, but I always try to find something local.
Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense, I think. And I'm sorry, that's too long of a trip to have packed a lunch. So you're going to get to sample a lot of the local cuisine while you're there, I'm sure. Well, I know you got a lot of stuff you got to get to. We're going to let you get to it. Want you to continue to do the fantastic job you've been doing because it's incredible. And it's a beautiful view back there. You commented on it at the beginning. That is absolutely gorgeous.
It was like God touched this place, Dave, and just made it like this. It's breathtaking.
Depending on how the game goes tonight, tomorrow morning when you're leaving, you're either going to say the same thing or go, yeah, it's okay. It can change. It can turn on a dime, buddy. I'm just telling you. Caleb Sailors with SuperTalk Mississippi News out in Arizona. Getting ready for the big game tonight. We got coverage all day long here on SuperTalk. And we'll probably mention it a time or two tomorrow as well, just to give you a heads up on that.
Right.
Caleb, have fun. Eat a sausage dog for me if you can find one. I don't even know if they have that in Arizona. I have zero clue what you got out there, but enjoy some of it for me, and we will talk to you again soon, buddy.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it, man.
Anytime. We will continue here in the Element Well studios on this Thursday morning, game day, here on Super Talk Mississippi. Keep it here.
From theSeabrook.com, Gerard Gibert. He keeps his classified documents right where they belong. Inside a Journey record jacket from the 1980s. Gerard Gibert, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, I never been to Spain, but I kinda like the music. See, the ladies are insane there, and they sure know how to use it. They don't abuse it, never gonna lose it. I can't refuse it. Well, I never been to England.
We're apparently slow jamming today. I like it. It's a good choice. Good choice. Welcome back to the Element Wealth Studios. You can go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006 to let Element Wealth help you find your balance between income, growth, and guarantees. Well, Rhino, the nonsense continues. We'll get back to the state legislature in just a little while. We have to talk about Minnesota. A sentence I've never said in my life before the last couple of weeks, by the way. Minnesota is just kind of there.
Don't you know?
Yeah, don't you know? Got the biggest ball of twine there. Yes, that was a Weird Al reference. Thank you. now all of a sudden it's a national flashpoint. All because Governor Tim Jazz Hands Walz has been, in my opinion, a moron. That's very unsurprising, honestly. We kind of picked up on that last year when we were first made aware that he existed because, again, it's Minnesota. Nobody's paying attention to Minnesota. Saw the video multiple times yesterday. Of course, everybody is going back and forth. It was very apparent that she put the car in drive and gunned it with an ICE agent directly in front of the car. You know what happens when you have a law enforcement officer that's a member of a group of law enforcement officers telling you to get out of the car, and instead you gun it with the car pointed at one of them? You know what happens? Well, we got a great demonstration of that yesterday. That's the way it works. It's always been the way it works. Always will be the way it works. But the revisionist dingbats are out there running around, reeing everywhere. This is horrible. I've seen it phrased. I've seen it semantically put as federal agents are gunning down innocent people in the streets. Well, yeah, when they try to run the federal agents over, that's kind of what you're going to get. It goes back to the old phrase. You've used it a million times. I've used it as well. What happens when you play stupid games, Rhino?
You win stupid prizes.
Every time. They don't even gift wrap them anymore. They're just handing them out like Mardi Gras throws.
I think my favorite asinine take on the whole situation came from none other than the witless wonder himself, Keith Olbermann.
Oh, no.
He said, "This is the Kent State of our time."
No, it's not. It's not even in the same category. The woman, by the way, had a Missouri tag. She was from out of town. There are some reports that she had recently moved to Minneapolis, and she was out being a legal observer, watching out for our immigrant neighbors, as it was put by several people.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Nope, me either. Not even a little bit.
Legal observer is like what they consider a magic word. If they say it, they don't go to jail. I'm not here to protest. I'm a legal observer. No, her wife was outside the car filming it all for TikTok.
Yeah,
that's a podcast or something.
That's where one of the videos, the one that's getting shown around the most, came from. Was from her wife. There were cameras all around everywhere, so you can spin the narrative however you would like. I'm sorry. They did kind of back off pretty quick that he shot her through the passenger window. Obviously, she wasn't going towards him if he could shoot her there. Well, there's a bullet hole in the windshield. Shut up.
Yeah, and that was the first shot through the windshield. Shots 2 and 3 came through the driver's side window.
Yes, because in that situation, well, there's several aspects that you have to look at on this. Number one, once someone has tried to run you over, you don't fire one shot and go, that'll teach them. That's not the way the human mind works. That's not the way the training is in place either. So, yeah, I kept shooting. Number two, after she had swerved and just hit him a little bit, who else was she going to hit and possibly injure or kill? At that point, it's a public safety issue. You have told her to stop repeatedly. You have told her to exit the vehicle repeatedly. And your response is to gun your engine directly at an agent. This is going to happen vast majority of the time.
But that second and third shot's going to be what they argue about the most.
Well, good for them. If the first shot was justified, number 2 and number 3, good luck with that argument. You're not going to get the play out of that you think. The Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association issued a statement on the whole thing yesterday. The interim executive director, David Titus, said in the statement, quote, "The Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association stands firmly behind law enforcement officers, accountability under the law, and the safety of every Minnesota community. Irresponsible, reckless rhetoric from political leaders attacking law enforcement has real and dangerous consequences for officers on the street. When officers are vilified, demonized, or used as political props, it fuels hostility, emboldens bad actors, and puts lives directly at risk. The association calls on leaders to stop the inflammatory language and respect the legal and investigative process. It's a good statement in that situation. But then you have Jazz Hands. Had his little press conference yesterday to explain that he stands foursquare for good roads, good schools, and a chicken in every pot. And also slipped in a lovely little factoid that he had issued an order to tell the National Guard to get ready to mobilize. Again, against federal officers?
For the people that spent 2 days ago just wailing about insurrections, that feels a little insurrection-y.
That is almost the textbook definition of insurrection. Yesterday, by the way, the day after January 6th, you had a whole bunch of screaming liberals who actually forced their way into the federal courthouse in Minneapolis to come in and demand that ICE leave the city. So you forced your way into a federal building with demands. Now, what happened 5 years ago, that was an insurrection. This was a peaceful protest, I have no doubt. It just goes to show there is no difference in the actions here. It's all about whether or not we think you're right in doing them. The means justify the ends in this particular case. So I do find it hysterical that on the day after everybody was holding candlelight vigils. Did you see those, Rhino? With the left?
Oh, yeah.
On the 6th, candlelight vigils, remembering the violence and the horror of January 6th in Washington. And then the very next day, they storm a federal courthouse in Minneapolis with demands and force entry into the federal facility. One day after they had the candlelight vigil for how horrible it was that, according to them, a bunch of people they don't agree with forced their way into a federal facility with demands. That was evil. This is necessary. We have to do what we have to do. Oh, shut up. The hypocrisy is probably the most aggravating thing about this to me. You know, and this has become so commonplace and so accepted that you're supposed to not even notice. We're not supposed to be having this conversation about it, Rhino. Just because we say you shouldn't do this doesn't mean we don't get to do this. That has, in my mind anyway, kind of played out as an attitude and an approach to doing things in America.
I go back to a tweet from February of last year. Mm-hmm. It may be the tweet of the decade. From @MillennialWoes. It's amazing how much leftist discourse is just them pretending not to understand things, thus making discourse impossible.
Yes. Me have the dumbs, but listen to me, I know what I'm talking about. There's no conflict there,
it's like
in
the
their
crazy
minds.
chick in New York that Mom Donnie put in position, whose mom has a $1.5 million house, but she wants to take away your house, and she got confronted, and she started crying when the press started asking her tough questions, and everybody's defending her, saying she's a young woman. She's 37.
Yeah.
When do you stop being a child when you're liberal?
I'll tell you why. When the country's no longer being run by 85-year-olds. That's when. LMOL Studio, we return.
New year.
Interrupt this program.
Gerard Gibert.
Here we go.
This is huge news.
Huge news. Huge.
You need to listen to this.
Middays with Gerard. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. The Element Wealth Studios. Big day on this Thursday, game day. Ever since we talked to Caleb Sailors live from Arizona, I've been craving a sausage dog. I mentioned it. It's my fault. I did it to me. But that's okay. So I know what I'm going to do when the show ends at 1. Going to go get a burger because I make no sense whatsoever, and I freely admit that. Coming up after news at the top of the hour, by the way, we'll be joined by Leah Long. It is the legislative session going on right now. The Senate has taken action and moved along the transfer of funds to the PERS program. I do have one question about it, though, Rhino. And maybe there's an answer here. The way I understand it, what they have passed and put through is $500 million transferring into PERS on July 1st, and then $50 million a year for 10 years over the next 10 years per year, to bring it up to a total of $1 billion they're infusing into PERS to kind of help with some of the shortfalls and the problems that they have in funding the retirement program for public employees in the state. What, is that just putting a Band-Aid on it? Does that solve the actual problem? Because in 10 years, are we going to be right back in the same situation?
It's tough because from everything I've seen, the recommendation from the actuaries was $200 million a year for something like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I don't know that even $1 billion really solves the situation. And I don't know how much it holds over, because one of the things you have to look at is it's a retirement system, and not to be morbid, but there is a bit of roll-off as people come on. And if we're not replacing people coming into the system to pay into the system more than they're rolling off, then $1 billion might not even be enough.
Well, and I have to wonder, and this is just me guessing, okay? I'm guessing out loud, that the hope is that roll-off effect, because we are in that territory, 10 years down the road may have helped correct some of the problem, and they'll revisit it at that point. That may be some of the thinking going in. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not criticizing this move. Something had to be done. They're doing something. So right. I'm not criticizing it at all. I'm just thinking a little further ahead than this year and next year. It almost feels like a really well executed kick of the can down the road just a little bit, because we're kind of leaving it to chance and to the whims of life expectancy that this problem will have self-corrected somewhat in a decade. It's just my thought. Now, you can't just write an open-ended blank check and say, well, we're transferring $500 million in every year for the rest of all time. No, that's not a solution either. I'm going to be interested to see, as this process continues forward in the legislature, if this is discussed, because that's the one concern I had when I heard it. My first instinct when I saw the action yesterday in the Senate was, good, we're doing something. And then my brain, which annoys me on a daily basis, started ruminating over it and said, wait a minute. This is great right now. Needed right now. Good move right now. What about in 10 years?
Yeah, the two debates I've seen on it have really boiled down to what we're talking about, the amount. And the second debate has been where the money's coming from. Because there is a bit of pushback I've seen that we're basically putting half of the rainy day fund towards just some of the population.
Yeah. That's the other problem with this. This is a very complicated, very thorny issue. The people that participate in this in the PERS system, all for it, as they should be. I would be too if I was on it. But again, how many employees are in the PERS system? It's like in the tens of thousands, isn't it? The upper tens of thousands. In a state of 3 million. I would also like to point out, if you're putting half of the rainy day fund in to shore this up, well, you can only do that one more time, and then you're out of halves of the rainy day fund. So there's still some discussion and some thought that has to go into this, I think, but we did get a start, so that's good, I think. There are other issues that are going to be addressed. Some of them will have an impact on small businesses. That's why Leah Long will join us after news from Fox News and SuperTalk Mississippi News as we start hour number 2 on Middays on this Thursday morning. Keep it here.
Hour of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
And now, another hour of the talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Begin your transition now.
Now on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back, Super Talk Mississippi, live in the Element Wealth studios on a Thursday morning. And we are joined now by someone who is going to be spending a lot of time over the next couple of months paying close attention to what the Mississippi legislature is doing. She's the Mississippi and Louisiana director for the National Federation of Small Businesses. Our old friend Leah Long, how you doing this morning?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. We kicked off Jackson on Tuesday, so it's going to be a full-blown sprint moving forward.
Well, and I think we have seen already that this may be a fast-moving session, because we had several things that hit immediately that have been talked about for a while that they're already bringing up and discussing. But let's talk about what you're hoping to see out of this session. What would you like to see happen? If you got your wish list, what would you want the legislature to do in Mississippi this year?
Oh, man, it might be a mile long, so I don't think we're going to get all those done. But
we're here till 1. We'll carry the whole list. I don't care.
We've worked really hard the last several sessions in Mississippi to continue to make it business friendly. You know, the idea of small business perspective is owning and operating your own business, keeping Mississippians back in Mississippi, making sure that they are able to thrive in their business. And one of those is, we talk about all the time, labor quality. And so there's a big focus on workforce development. I actually started my bill review yesterday, and as you can see, bills get filed until the 19th. There's a ton of workforce development bills in there. And so I'm excited to see that. We've got to make sure that these people have the right skill set, that there's opportunity for them to gain skill set to be able to fill these jobs that these small business owners have. And I think that's going to be great moving forward. There's a lot of emphasis just continuing to give relief for some poultry farmers. I know there's some bills coming in that direction. Poultry industry is huge in Mississippi, and continuing to just, watch those mandates that, sometimes we unfortunately have from government, making sure they're not pressing on small businesses too big and too little.
Well, and that's the thing. It is a two-pronged approach that you have to have. You want things to support small business, but you also want to see things go away that are going to limit small business and make it harder for a small business owner to actually function. Is there anything in particular in that second category, the mandates that you referred to, the limitations, the restrictions? Is there anything in there in particular that you've kind of got your eye on and you're saying, I don't know about this?
It kind of just depends, when it comes down to insurance, health insurance, sometimes there's always, mandated what you may cover in health insurance premiums. And that, that adds to the cost of doing business. The idea is being able to offer a great compensation package to your employers, to your employees as a small business owner. And, if those premiums go up, we talk about health insurance crisis on a national level, but also on a state level, we've got to be careful. There's a fine line if they're being able to afford those premiums at the end of the day to be able to offer a good package to your employees. And, obviously we talk about minimum wage all the time. I did see that there were a few minimum wage bills that were brought, and obviously we always oppose those on a state level because there's a federal level, and many small business owners pay way more than minimum wage, but the economy should kind of dictate those wages. And it goes back to workforce development, skill set. If you have no skills, you're coming to work and you want to make $25 an hour. Usually that's not going to happen. And so we have to think about the cost of doing business. And, the joy of owning a small business is, sometimes you can keep prices lower sometimes because it is, a family owned operated business. But, at some point you've got to pass those costs down to the consumers or eat them. And so it's been a tough couple of years for small businesses. So I'm interested to see how this session plays out and how we can make it better environment for them in Mississippi.
Well, and let's talk about, I want to come back to, some of the other issues and some of the other things that we're looking at, but let's talk for just a moment about the fact that people tend to have a very simplistic view of what it means to own a small business unless they have actually ever owned a small business. There are a lot of moving parts. You were talking about the health insurance. When people talk about small business owners, that never comes up. There are so many expenses, so many hoops they have to jump through. It's not easy, is it?
No, absolutely not. And you have to think about it, at the end of the day, that small business owner, it's their name on the line. They're the one making sure they've got to offer products to consumers. They've got to make sure they can, pay their employees and give them, it's, you're kind of supporting a whole family. I like that about the small business aspect. It is like a family aspect. You have someone at top and they've got to make sure the whole pyramid gets fed almost in a way. And so it is. And, they started to own a small business because they had a passion for something. A lot of those small businesses in rural America, rural Mississippi, if it wasn't for, your local pharmacist, your local hardware store, your local restaurants, you may have to drive 20, 30 minutes to get something that you may need. And people don't think about that all the time because they're the ones there keeping your community the same way it was 20 years ago, how it'll be in 20 more years if those family businesses stay intact.
Well, and that's why they're so important, because that's the other thing. You and I have talked about this before. Small businesses are the foundation that communities and the entire economy are built on. If you take those out, if those go away, the whole thing falls over. That's just how important they are, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. We say that small business is the backbone of economy. And, we love when bigger economic things come into the state. Also, everyone thrives. But you think about some of those big businesses, they're supported by small businesses. Think about in the shipbuilding industry, whatever it may be, that those small businesses, independent contractors go to work in the big business. And so it's one of those things when you think about, different dynamics, you've got to have both. And the small business plays a huge role in the economic impact of Mississippi.
And that's one of many reasons why we need to support it. The other part to me is a little more esoteric. It's the fact that it is the American dream. You have a dream. You have an idea. You have something you want to do. You should have the best possible opportunity to prove that you can do it without people constantly trying to trip you while you're running this very hard marathon race. And sometimes I feel like we edge too much into that second category, and the trippers are out in full force. That's what it feels like anyway, Leah.
Absolutely, it does. And, me coming from rural America also, it's just like you saw small town people build their dreams and they were successful for their families. And I think that's super important because small business, it could be one man in a truck. It could be a small business that has 400 employees and they've done very well. And so it benefits every industry, and being able to let them continue to have that American dream is what makes it great, and being able to continue to, persuade people to own and operate their own business. And I think we learned the last several years that, there's pros and cons of everything, but there is more joy when you do talk to a small business owner, why they did that and why they continue to fight through the hard times.
Well, and the mark of success in a lot of people's eyes for a small business is for them one day to become a big business, because it just runaway success. I have talked to a lot of small business owners in my life. I've talked to a lot who their small business became a big business. And almost universally, I have found that when I'm talking to someone who started a small business, they had that mom and pop. It was them and their spouse and their kids in the garage, and it turned into this monstrous business. If they had their druthers, they'd go back to those days in the garage when it was a small, more compact business, because the bigger it gets, the bigger the headaches get. And that's part of the dichotomy and the challenge of opening a small business. When you start really getting successful, well, you've got even more problems, and you probably pay a little closer attention to what's going on in the state legislature at that point too, don't you?
Absolutely. I always like to say there's more state bills that can either hurt or make your business succeed. You know, some people talk about at the federal level. There's a lot of things that go on the federal level that can absolutely cripple your business or make it more positive in the end. But, state level, when you start paying attention to those little bills that come in and out, it drastically affects a small business, whether, like we said, it was regulatory, whether it's taxes, whether it's insurance. And so that's something great I love about my job, is representing the small businesses, because they don't have time to be in Jackson. They're not going to sit there and pay attention. They're owning and operating their own business. They're running employees. They're trying to make sales, trying to make their profit margins. And so being able to be there and represent them and pay attention to what's affecting their business is huge, and relaying that to them.
Well, and it is something that has to have attention paid to it, if for no other reason, to know what's coming. Because a lot of times things kind of slip through the cracks. Everyone this session already is talking about PERS and education. That's the conversation. There's a lot more going to happen over the next 3 months than just PERS and education, right?
I mean, we talked about, I think Governor Reese laid his ideas out, the Lieutenant Governor's done his, Speaker White's done his, but there's a ton more bills that fall into all the different categories. I think that's why we have 20 committees, because there's a ton of them to pay attention to.
Can you stick around through the break?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Leah Long with the National Federation of Small Businesses, the Mississippi and Louisiana head. She's got 2 hats she wears on that head, and we'll continue talking to her. When we come back, I want to get into a bit more about workforce training, if you don't mind. We'll do that right after this in the Element Wealth Studios on Middays here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
Okay, is everybody ready?
I'm ready. Ready here.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Live in the Element Wealth Studios, Middays on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here, joined by Leah Long. And you mentioned it back at the beginning of the first segment, and I wanted to give it a little more time here, and that's the conversation around workforce development. As you said, there are some things that are coming up in the legislative session to enhance that, to boost that, if you will. But let's talk for a minute about workforce education, because sometimes, I've had conversations with people, when you say small business, they think of the person running a flower shop. Yeah, it can be a little bit bigger than that, and there can be very specific skills that are needed for small businesses to function, right?
Absolutely. For NFIB's purpose, we represent every industry. We do have flower shops. We have retail. We have shipbuilding. We have oil and gas people. We have poultry farmers, construction, transportation. So when people say small business, I do get that a lot. Your flower shop or your coffee shop, but there's a lot of training skills that you need in these small businesses. It's pretty much the same ones you need in big business. You need people, especially in those, construction, transportation industries. You've got to have those trade school programs there that people are willing to go get that skill set to be able to go fill those jobs.
Well, and that's the thing that I think is missed on a lot of people. When you talk about going and getting the specific skill set for a specific job, a couple of things here. Number one, there aren't necessarily prerequisites for a lot of those. You walk in the door and go, "What's this?" And they go, "That's a wrench." And when you get done with it, you have a verified skill set that makes you employable in a specific position, and that is enormous. People think, well, I've never done that. I've never done this. That's almost immaterial in a lot of these cases, isn't it?
Absolutely. You walk in and think, okay, but the idea is continuing to build your skill set. We talk about that with, compensation packages, continuing to move forward, living the American dream, being able to get a skill set and build on that. And we talk about that a lot, like I just said, in those different kind of trade school industries that you're needed. I know there was a lot of bills last year that were, partnered with trade school communities, colleges. And so I would love to see those continue to move forward as we promote our Mississippians to go get a skill set, because there are tons of jobs to be had by these small business owners. And so instead of, thinking always about big business, I'm sure you could go to your local mechanic shop, wherever you may live, and they're probably hiring.
Yes. And the other thing, and I think I've mentioned this before, I am sitting here in our Pike County studio doing the show, which is located inside the Workforce Training Center on the campus of Southwest Mississippi Community College. I have some knowledge about this subject. There are industries that when they're firing up or where they have a gap, they will talk to the workforce training centers all over the state and say, hey, I need 20 people that can do this. They will put together a training program, and you have practically a guaranteed job if you sign up and you complete that program. It's not even a roll of the dice. It's just lying there waiting for you to pick it up and roll with it. And I think that's missed on a lot of people, Leah.
It absolutely is. And, me being Louisiana and Mississippi, that's something I've seen done in Louisiana. They've partnered with the auto dealerships. Because there's people, we need mechanics, we need people servicing the auto industry. And so as we move forward in Mississippi, I would love to see different industries partner up with community colleges so they can service these small business owners that, whether you're a small mechanic shop or if you're a construction company, something like that, being able to service those small businesses. So when these people finish those skills, they can walk right on the job site. And that obviously creates a better economic development standpoint for a small business, because small businesses sometimes don't have HR firms. They're not out there looking. They don't have people on staff, sitting there posting jobs all the time. More than likely they say, hey, I have 4 or 5 spots open. Sometimes they post on Indeed, but sometimes they take a while to respond. They're busy doing 8 million other things in their small business. And so being able to have those skilled workers available and ready, that's going to continue to grow Mississippi businesses.
And that is so huge, but we have to continue to get the word out, and we have to make people aware that these opportunities exist, because this can literally be life-changing for some folks that are looking for work, haven't been able to find a job, don't know what to do, they're at the end of their rope. Well, guess what? That is an enormous light at the end of the tunnel, and for once, it's not an oncoming train. You have to be able to take advantage of that opportunity when it's there, and it is there. And the easiest way to take advantage of that is to contact your local workforce training center, wherever it may be, and talk to them about it. Walk in. Trust me, I see it all day, every day here. People walk in and go, I don't know what to do, but I got to find something to do, and they sit down and they do counseling. And they figure it out and go, well, we've got somebody looking for, this kind of employee with this particular skill set. Does that sound good? We can get you trained up. And before you know it, small businesses are thriving. Employees are thriving, which means the community is thriving, because this is kind of the gas and the engine of society, getting people employed and getting small businesses with a full set of workers to do their work, their job. And it goes back to what we were talking about. Small business, as you put it, is the backbone of the economy. It all starts there, doesn't it?
It does. It all starts there. And, continuing, we want people to thrive in their businesses when small business owners have more capital because maybe they're doing well, they're fully employed, their business is thriving. They're going to invest back in that business, continue to expand, and also continue to pay their employees more and, contribute more into that community. And so that's something when they're thriving, I think that, like you just said, the whole region is thriving, the state's thriving, and that's something we are continuing to do. We compete being in the South a lot. So now Mississippi, they have lowered their personal income tax. So now we saw Louisiana do that. We're always competing against Texas on jobs. We're competing against their income tax, all kinds of things. So we got to continue to make Mississippi more business friendly for not only the businesses, but also the employees. We've got to make sure that they have jobs and also that there are employers seeking those job seekers. So I think that's super important to kind of keep in our minds as we move through the session.
Well, and there is no such thing as a win that you get to just rest on. You did something good, we're done. No. Perfect example, what you were just talking about with the income tax. We took care of that last year and started the process to reduce and then eventually eliminate the state income tax in Mississippi. Georgia started that process yesterday. So it continues. The competition isn't resting, so we don't get to rest either, which is what makes every legislative session so important. Do you have any message before we run out of time here for the legislators in Mississippi, what you want to see them do?
But just like, them to continue to make it more business friendly for small business owners. They're what makes Mississippi great. And so I would love to see that passion that they've had the last couple of years in session move forward, because there's no silver bullet. We got to keep chipping away every session to continue to make Mississippi better.
How do you get any downtime?
I do when we're not in session, but Louisiana and Mississippi session, they are back to back. So when I think about workers' comp, taxes, insurance, I start, January 1st, June, my mind kind of takes a break. But it's good doing both states because they're similar, but also not similar. So you can kind of go back and forth and see, what one state's doing, what the other one isn't. And I love when people compete and I say, well, they're both my states, so I thrive to make them better. And I'm not even from either of the states. So that's what makes it a little bit funnier.
You know what, though? We claim you. It's okay.
Thank you. Hey, I wore Ole Miss red today. Two of my best friends are diehard fans, so I'm going to support them. I'm a big LSU fan, but go Rebels.
You're welcome to Lane. Since you're a big LSU fan, you're welcome to him. Have fun. Yes. Enjoy that.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's going to go well for you, I'm sure. I'm trying to be positive, Leah. But yeah, we welcome your support, and this is the kind of situation where everybody circles the wagons and says, you know what, we're pulling for the Rebels. We have to. Even a diehard LSU fan in a lovely red top is supporting the Rebels, so you can do it too.
As long as an SEC team wins at the end of the day is all I care about. We got to make sure the SEC stands true and strong.
That's right. Especially as long as it's a Mississippi team and not a Louisiana team. I don't mean to pit your two sides against each other, but I also don't care. I'm a homer. Always have been, always will. Leah Long with the National Federation of Small Businesses, the head of the Mississippi and Louisiana branches of that organization. We'll check back with you a little bit further in the session, and hopefully you'll be all bubbly and excited because it's been going so well, or you'll be exasperated and we'll have a counseling session. Whichever way it goes, we'll do that a little bit later on, okay? Fantastic. We're taking a break. We continue on your Thursday morning in the Element Wealth Studios on Middays right after this. Keep it here.
From the Zebra.
Properly set all controls before recording.
All systems go.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Middays live in the Element Wealth Studios on SuperTalk Mississippi. Got a great story up on SuperTalk Mississippi News. You can go to supertalk.fm, click on news at the top, and you can go right to it. It's all part of our Fiesta Bowl coverage. They're live in Arizona. We talked to Caleb Sailors last hour. The coverage brought to you by Good Hope Land and Timber, Youngling Flight, U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde Smith, Pillium Corporation, Barnes Crossing Auto Group, and the Mississippi Hospital Association. The Senate yesterday got a story up about it. We haven't mentioned it yet. The Senate, in their opening prayer to open the session, prayed for an Ole Miss win, basically. And I love that. That was fantastic. They prayed and asked to weaken the Hurricanes and bless the Rebels. I love it. That's how much of a focus this is, as it should be. There is one other thing I want to mention, though, that we haven't talked about, Rhino. Got another announcement coming today. Governor Tate Reeves first mentioned this yesterday, that he would be making an announcement today. Well, just a few hours ago, he posted on Facebook that it was game day. 1 p.m. announced largest single investment in Mississippi history, again on X. 6:30, Ole Miss football versus Miami Hurricanes in the Fiesta Bowl. Days like this are why I ran for governor. So at 1 o'clock, we're getting another announcement about another the governor says largest single investment in Mississippi history, which would beat the data center, right?
That's what I'm seeing.
I think that's the current record holder. Don't know what this is about. Have you heard any rumors about what this announcement may be?
I haven't heard a single ounce of scuttlebutt.
Me either. Which is really good in a way, because you don't want it to get out until it's time for it officially to be out. So no leaks. That's always good news in my book. But about an hour and a half from now, we'll know. Right as the show ends, of course, we will find out what this announcement is. But with him saying the largest single investment in Mississippi history, again, that's going to beat that data center, which I believe, wasn't that $10 billion?
Yeah, that was the announced amount. It's, in reality, likely going to be north of 20.
Man, you know, 10 billion, like the old saying goes, 10 billion here, 10 billion there. Before you know it, we're talking real money. But I'm going to go with the 10 billion, the announcement that was made originally. So going by what the governor said in his Facebook post, it's going to be a bigger investment than that in the state of Mississippi. That is enormous news coming up at 1 o'clock. So put that on your radar and be ready for it. Again, it's going to be announced right after the show ends. We end at 12:59 and 50 seconds. At 1 o'clock, he's going to make the announcement, so we're literally going to miss it by less than a minute, but we'll talk about it tomorrow, I'm sure. We had rioting, of course, of a sort. We mentioned it earlier in the show in Minneapolis. But there's a little bit of a difference this time around. You know, we had Minneapolis rioting 5 years ago. Interesting thing, by the way, the incident that happened yesterday with the woman getting involved with the kerfluffle with ICE and supposedly trying to run over one of the agents, what it looks like to me in the videos I've seen, and then getting shot and killed by the agent. That happened like 4 blocks from where George Floyd died. So it's literally the same area of Minneapolis right there. Well, 4 years ago, we all know how that unfolded. This time around, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the IRS all have agents. This morning, I'm looking at a video of it, going door to door in Minneapolis, raiding fraudulent businesses, including a lot of Somali-owned businesses. So the business, the duties, the work continues in Minneapolis, no matter what else is going on. I think that's kind of refreshing, Rhino, that everything isn't just grinding to a halt over this like they want it to.
Well, part of the reason it's not blowing up nearly as much as the leftist politicians would hope it would is because it's like -20.
Yeah, that's not helping.
You're not going to get a whole lot of people out rioting at night in freezing temperatures.
No. Sooner or later, the battery pack will run out in your fancy socks and you have to go home. That, and it is a different situation.
Because, if it's summertime, you can bus in people from all over the place, and they're not going to be really all that impacted by the cold. But unless you're from there, you're likely not going to have a great time in that kind of weather, so you can't really bus in people from sunny Southern California or from anywhere really in the country to be a paid protester.
And it doesn't help. All the buses are in Phoenix right now, apparently. There's a shortage of bus travel options out there, I think. But I think what is going to come out of this is just my feeling. We saw yesterday the most overt, ridiculous display from Governor Tim Walz, from Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, that I think I have ever seen in front of the press. Jacob Fry was cussing up a storm in his press conference. One of my favorite quotes.
Because he means business and he relates to you.
He's dead serious, and I'm one of you. Ding! He actually in there said he had a message in his press conference yesterday. My message for ICE, get the F word out of Minneapolis.
Oh,
very
so
mature.
Tough.
Yes, I am intimidated. Are you intimidated? I almost didn't sleep last night.
I'm quivering.
Jacob Fry may mince into my yard at any moment and wag his finger at me. What am I going to do? That's the other problem here. Because to the left, it doesn't matter. To the hardcore radical leftoids, it doesn't matter who incites them. They're kind of pre-incited in a way.
Perpetually aggrieved.
To everyone outside of that little echo chamber, you look at Tim Walz. I know it's a big ask, but you look at Tim Walz. You look at Governor Jazz Hands, and then you look at the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Fry. Did you see the picture, by the way, of him enjoying some traditional Somali cuisine when all this started?
The funniest part about that is that's like the acquired taste in their culture.
Yes.
That's the thing that you don't give to the rookies of Somali food. That's something the grandmas eat.
His expression on his face, it looked like he was about to spit it all back out on the plate.
And the guys that were giving it to him were trying to stifle laughter.
Yes, because they're just messing with him. But he's doing that as a show of support and solidarity for our Somali brothers and sisters. I did an inventory. I come from a small family. I have one brother. I checked. I asked him. I even looked at his ID. He's not Somali. I have no Somali brothers and sisters. And I'm not going to eat their nasty garbage that they use to trick the tourists. But Jacob Fry, no problem. Same guy who yesterday was dropping F-bombs in a press conference in front of the TV cameras because I'm in charge here. So you look at Fry, you look at Walz. Outside of the severely radicalized left, no one is going to take them seriously. They're not going to get any outside buy-in, even to the extent of just throwing up your hands and being quiet and not saying anything and going, well, whatever. No, nobody's buying into these two. You have the wrong salesman on the floor for this particular action, and it's not going to turn out like it did last time. Now, I'm sure they have fooled themselves into thinking they're going to have this big uprising like they did last time. Fun, surprising fact for them. No, everybody sees you. Everybody sees who you are. And there's potentially, from what I'm seeing, some breaking news about Walz that might come out today. We'll talk about that in just a second when we continue here in the Element Wealth Studios on Middays, SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
Up of Mississippi.
Check it out. Let's do this.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's get on with it.
On Super Talk Mississippi. Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi, Middays in the Element Wealth Studios. Coming up after news in just a few moments, we'll have Fox News and Super Talk Mississippi News, as we usually do at the top of every hour. And right after that, we'll be talking to the guy that's usually in this chair, Gerard Gibert, who is out in Arizona getting ready for the Rebels' win tonight. I'm speaking it into existence, by the way. It's just what's going to happen. So we'll talk to Gerard to start the hour next hour. One thing just wanted to throw out, they announced a new food pyramid yesterday. Can you still call it a pyramid when you turned it upside down, Rhino? Because that's basically what they did.
Well, anything's better than the food pyramid because it's pretty much been established that that was junk science at best.
Yes. Well, they started the new food pyramid with, red meat, things like that. Grains are all the way at the bottom now. Carbs, basically. So a completely different approach to nutrition, which I think is long overdue. If you look at America, there was nowhere to go but up, right? But the one part that I found interesting is that they changed the guidelines for alcohol. We did have a limit of 2 drinks per day for men and 1 drink for women. Nobody ever paid attention to that. Were you even aware of that, Rhino, before it came up yesterday?
Vaguely.
Yeah. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So the new guidelines are, to paraphrase it, drink responsibly. That's basically it. Dr. Oz, while he was discussing it in front of the crowd of reporters, did say the thing, I think this was perfect, don't have a drink for breakfast. But aside from that, just use your common sense is basically the rule that's going into effect. The World Health Organization, I found out about this, they want prohibition back. They believe that no amount of alcohol is healthy for anyone, ever. Never, never, never. It makes me wonder what their thoughts are on NyQuil, but no drinks of any kind ever from the World Health Organization. Here's the thing to remember. The food pyramid, this is a great thing. It's a great press opportunity, a press conference excuse par excellence. This isn't going to change anyone's behavior. I'm still going to be eating fried catfish like it's going out of style. No one is going to change their lifestyle and their behavior because RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz said, here's what you need to eat, which has always been kind of the conceit of the food pyramid to me. As you said, it was junk science from the word go. This is better if there are people who are going to follow it, but in general, it's the same problem. Nobody cares. Nobody thinks about the food pyramid when they go to the grocery store or the restaurant, do they? Have you ever given it a second thought?
Not since maybe first or second grade when it was taught.
Yes, when they pummel that into your brain. Well, you got to have something from each one of the levels on the food pyramid, and then you actually, completely devour an entire bag of goldfish crackers, and that goes right out the window. So this, to me, it's great. That's fine. Whatever. We have an improved version of it, in my opinion. That's good. You do not change behaviors with a press conference. You do not change attitudes. You do not change approaches to life with a press conference. And this goes back to what we were talking about in the last segment in Minnesota. The ones who are out on the fringe edges of the far left, the ones we will charitably call the crazies, they're going to be on board with what Walz said and what Fry said and what everybody is going about.
Yeah, but those are the same kind of people that would probably eat a whole stick of margarine because it's not cruel to cows, and do so because it's not suggested by the new food pyramid.
But those people are already sold. You're not changing behavior. You're enabling the behavior that already exists. You're not going to change the behavior of anyone in any category with a press conference. So if they think they're going to pull more people into their cause by going out and saying, I'm getting ready to activate the National Guard and get the bleep out of my city, if they think they're going to bring in support, they are incorrect, and they are going to find that out in the days to come, I feel. Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News. And then Gerard Gibert joins us from Arizona here on SuperTalk Mississippi Middays in the Element Wealth Studios. Keep it here.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
That's what I like to listen to.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Winter is here again, oh Lord. Haven't been home in a year.
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi Middays in the Element Wealth Studios, and we continue now our Fiesta Bowl coverage brought to you by the folks at Good Hope Land and Timber, Youngling Flight, U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, Pillium Corporation, Barnes Crossing Auto Group, and the Mississippi Hospital Association. He's the host of the show, but we're also going to dub you part of the Super Talk Mississippi News team today. Gerard Gibert joins us. How you doing out there in Arizona, Gerard?
What's up, Dave and Rhino? Calling in from the Kierland Golf Course, staying at the Westin Resort here. A little chilly out here in Phoenix. I'm hoping the Rebels are hotter on the football field than the weather is right now in the desert.
Well, we talked to Caleb earlier, and I just wanted to get your take on it as well. He said there is powder blue all over the place out there in Arizona today.
Rebel colors have descended upon Phoenix for sure, and everywhere you go, you see them, and everybody's exchanging hotty-toddies, of course. I detect an air of a bit of optimism, but it's cautious optimism. Dave, I just rode on the elevator with 4 Rebels and a couple of Miami fans, and honestly, the Miami fan says, I think you guys got the upper hand here, so I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's going to be fun, no doubt.
It's locker room talk in the elevator. It's the old bulletin board in the locker room there. Oh yeah, no, you're gonna beat us. You kind of have to have that little bit of talk about all of it, I think, right?
That's right.
But
certainly traveling, driving, the hotels, just everywhere you go, this place is crawling with Rebels, and it's pretty neat to see everybody has just kind of migrated in this direction for a couple of days for the game.
What time are you going to leave to get to the stadium? I mean, kickoff is at 6:30, so when are you planning to make that trip over there?
Yes, 5:30 our time out here in the desert, in the mountains. We actually purchased a package through the Alumni Association that includes the hotel and ground transportation, and it departs at 1 o'clock, and it takes us to the area around the stadium. And then there's kind of a pregame party the Alumni Association is hosting. We're going to hit that. We've been invited to a couple of others as well. So we're going to be down in the area for about 4 hours before game time.
Yeah, but game time is what counts. I mean, the rest of it is nice, but when they kick it off, it's going to become a whole different world for a few hours, isn't it?
It is, and my understanding is, Dave, according to what athletic director Keith Carter has been reporting, that Rebel fans have purchased about 30,000 tickets to the game. And Rhino and I looked at the capacity yesterday. It looks like the typical capacity is about 63,400. So at least half the facility is going to be covered up with Rebel people.
Well, and the thing to remember, though, is you're going to have some people local to that area, and by that I mean the western part of the United States, who are going to show up that are newly minted Ole Miss Rebel fans that may not be showing up in those stats, right?
I think that's true, and this is obviously it's unusual. It's a bit of an anomaly. First time Ole Miss has made it this far, and if what's kind of intriguing, if you think about these semifinal games, is it's names you don't typically hear at this level, and we're not accustomed to that. Been a while since Miami's been this far, for sure. So I think the new names in these semifinals is just brought some additional interest to this final couple of games.
Well, and I think that those new names that you're talking about, because you're right, you know, we don't have the usual suspects lined up for the championship. That really adds some weight to the argument that was made to begin with to expand the college football playoffs, because we've got a lot of people that wouldn't have had a shot last year that now are the talk of the country with what's going on, and I think that was a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it's just good overall for the sport to just have new names in there. I think people say, okay, well, it's the same ones. And no disrespect to them. They're great programs. They've got a winning tradition. They've been here before, as they say. But I just think the interest is heightened. You think about the number of people that are going to be tuned into this game tonight that really have never paid attention to Ole Miss for sure. I think Miami in its heyday in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, everybody knew Miami was a powerhouse and was always vying for the national championship every year. They've been out of the picture for about 20 years. Now they're back in it. So it's an intriguing matchup. But again, I think just Ole Miss being among the Final Four just heightens the interest.
Well, and the name recognition helps. We're seeing that in the transfer portal already this year. That name recognition, success breeds success. And next year when the season starts and Ole Miss makes the headlines in whatever way, there's going to be a whole bunch of people, like you just said, all around the country that instead of saying who, are going to go, oh, the Rebels. And that's worth a lot of money, isn't it?
It is. It's a great thing, obviously, Dave, not only for the university, but for the state of Mississippi. For the state of Mississippi to be on the national stage here with this sort of attention and notoriety, and I think for the country to see just how great our universities are and how great our state is. And the people are representing us well. You probably saw the little letter the Southwest flight attendants published yesterday. Just welcoming the Rebel fans on board and complimenting them. That's kind of neat, I thought. And certainly they were crawling all over the airports, the Rebel fans were, which was pretty cool as well.
And that's a good thing to see, because in this day and age, it seems like every time you turn around, you've got another story about people behaving badly in one way or another, in one situation or another. And then here comes Mississippi to show everybody how it's supposed to be done. That's awesome.
It's a great point, and I believe we are representing the great state of Mississippi with dignity and class, and something you and I and others, certainly in our line of work, talk about frequently is the misconceptions about our state. people think about our state from what they've heard from politicians that like to degrade our state. Hollywood has always portrayed our state typically in a negative light. That's what people know about Mississippi until they meet us, until they see us, until they visit. And here they're going to see us on a big-time national stage. And I think we're turning heads. I really do.
You know, I think back to the first time that I was in Los Angeles, to your point, and the cab driver was asking where we were from. And I said, my wife and I said, well, we're from Mississippi. And he said, oh, okay, that kind of surprises me. I said, why? And with a dead serious face, he said, well, you're wearing shoes. You know, that's the attitude that some people have.
I had a similar experience when I was assigned to a project in my early business career out in California. And literally, seriously, other members of the project team from California asked me if I'd ever worn a suit before I went to work for the firm. Like, are you kidding me? You know, and how many cows I had on my farm, and no disrespect to our great farmers, of course, but we're obviously a diverse state with lots of different people that come from lots of different lines of work. That's what makes our state great.
And this is such a great opportunity to put all of that on display and let everybody in the entire country see, oh, as it turns out, Hollywood is full of it. We know that, but 100%. A lot of people don't. We get that all the time, and there's no sense in it.
We're a well-kept secret in many cases, as you know, and don't want to get ahead of myself, but man, if we could get to Miami and to that Natty, that would just be incredible and just continue the goodwill I think this is producing for our state.
Well, that's what I was going to say is the Ole Miss fans, by all reports, extremely well behaved, representing the state well. They're going to lose their minds if the clock runs out tonight and we win. It's going to be a different ball game then, isn't it?
I'll be among them. I think my wife was telling me yesterday the rules of the stadium, All-State Stadium there, and is it All-State or State Farm? I'm getting confused between the All-State Sugar Bowl. I think it's State Farm Stadium, if I got it right. But, yeah, you get an hour after the game. You can stay in the actual dome facility itself, and that's it. So I guess they'll start running you out.
They at that point, they will officially have had enough, I think, and they want to start cleaning up so they can get home. Yeah, Gerard Gibert out in Arizona.
Celebrate it.
Oh yeah, well that's the goal. You got time to stick around? I got some non-football stuff to ask your opinion on. Gerard Gibert,
let's do it.
We're still going to make him host the show. I don't care what golf show, course he's on. We're in the Element Well studios, and we continue with Gerard right after this on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, this is Bob, and if you're like...
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
It is
on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back in the Element Wealth Studios, middays on SuperTalk Mississippi. We've got Gerard Gibert out in Arizona on the golf course, his natural habitat, and he is part of our SuperTalk Mississippi news coverage of the festival, brought to you by Good Hope Land and Timber, Youngling Flight, U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, Pillium Corporation, Barnes Crossing Auto Group, and the Mississippi Hospital Association. By the way, if you haven't done this, if you want to have your mind blown, I've gone down this rabbit hole lately, Gerard. And hearing that reminded me, the bumper music coming in, the incredible all-time great Journey and Don't Stop Believin'. There is an entire genre of people on YouTube who are listening to Journey for the first time. They don't know the song. I watched one last night. The kid keeps going, "Who is the singer? He's incredible." And it's fascinating to me to watch that.
It's first of all, thank you guys for bumping us in with that. I know that is the traditional fourth quarter song at Mississippi State. And respect that and love that when they play it. But today we're going to make that apply to the big Fiesta Bowl, the semifinal game for Ole Miss. So we'll just sort of blanket the state of Mississippi with a little Journey, Don't Stop Believin'. Yeah, Dave, I've watched those reaction videos as well. And I just die laughing when they hear Steve Perry belt out some vocals there, especially the 81 live broadcast, the live video, you know about that one where they just had recorded the song, and I think they play it live for the first time to a packed house in Houston, and they're going crazy, and these reaction kids are like, "Who is this guy?" It's his voice. And then when Neil Sean breaks into one of those classic guitar riffs, they're watching those fingers move as fast as you've ever seen on the neck of a guitar, and they're just blown away. They don't make music like that anymore, Dave, as the saying goes, that's for sure. But it's classic, and even the young folks enjoy it.
Well, and that's my favorite part of it. My favorite reaction I've seen so far was one kid about halfway through paused and said, "Wait a minute, I just realized this was live? He was doing this live?" It's like, yeah, dude.
No auto-tune. Totally live, no auto-tune, no gadgetry, just pure talent. And that's what makes it so great. It makes it such a classic. And why we enjoy it today, no doubt.
Definitely. Now, I wanted to right a wrong because I thought it was highly unfair that after you have spent 2 years talking about PERS, the legislature waits until you leave the state to pass something on it. And I would almost take that personally, Gerard.
Yeah, I think they felt a little pressure, obviously, to get something done, pressure from multiple directions. And the state is fortunate in that it has been able to sock away some cash in the capital expense fund and, of course, also the rainy day fund. And so they saw fit to transfer about half of the cash sitting in the capital expense fund as kind of a down payment over to PERS, and then an additional $50 million a year over 10 years, a total of $1 billion. I'm anxious, Dave, to see the actuarial analysis of this infusion of cash and how that will affect the solvency of the fund. I don't believe it's sufficient to get where we need to be, but I think it's a good move. But you know what's still hanging out there is after they passed that Tier 5 last year, man, you remember all the reaction to that, especially from the state's first responders, because it would require 35 years of service to retire at any age. And the first responders are saying, this is tough physical work. It's a little unreasonable to expect that. So looks like they're going to probably make some adjustments and reforms to that new Tier 5. And the House and Senate seem to be on board with that. It's just a big, nasty problem, Dave. And what I've said many times is all the solutions are painful. Even this solution of taking $500 million out of the capital expense fund, that's painful in that, okay, well, that means there's not as much money available for much needed capital improvements in the state of Mississippi.
Well, and that's the thing. Rhino and I talked about this earlier in the show. To me, my initial reaction when I saw that and when I heard it was, okay, good. They're doing something, at least. They are making some kind of effort to patch this up. But then I immediately started thinking about it. This is not a cure. This is a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. And it almost feels like, in a way, we're just kind of doing something to make it better for now and kicking the can down the road again, and we'll deal with the actual problems later. Is that a fair analysis, you think?
Well, is that not par for the course in politics in general? Just roll that to the next group, right? That's an issue. Similar to that, Rhino and I talked the other day. everybody who gets elected to the United States Senate in 2026, and there are a number of 20-something races being contested, including one in our state with current Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. Her seat is up for re-election. They will have to deal with the insolvency of Social Security during their Senate term. So is it fair to ask any of those candidates, hey, what are you going to do? This is going to happen on your watch. Remember, the House, they could be in and gone because of the 2-year terms. You're running for Senate with a 6-year term. You're there when Social Security faces these serious problems. In the case of our state legislature and our statewide leaders, I think this is something to check the box to kind of stabilize it a bit. But we're still, I think, stuck with the same long-term problem that needs a long-term solution. And I believe, as I've said many times on the show, we need to get all parties at the table to talk about the best way to address this and not do this. And I'm not saying our legislature is doing that. I just think there may have to be some give and take all the way around to get PERS on permanent, solid footing.
I would qualify it myself as a decent first step. This is very much the first thing you do when you have a busted pipe in your house is turn the water off and limit the damage, which is kind of what this is, right?
I think that's right. I'm anxious to get Senator Daniel Sparks. You know, he's spearheaded all the PERS reforms on the Senate side. I'm anxious to get him in and get his take. He usually talks to me offline about this stuff. With the game going on, we hadn't had any exchanges, but I feel like next week we'll get into the weeds and the details of what are the actuaries saying, because he knows. I mean, the actuaries have been involved in this, and that's fine. That's great. That's what they are engaged to do. But yeah, Dave, I don't feel like this is permanent. Just given how serious the financial problems are with the system itself, I don't feel like this is a permanent fix. And especially, let's think about this: if we go reforming or amending the Tier 5 that was put in last year for this purpose as a way to, as you say, stop the leaking, and we go sort of taking away some of those reforms that were amending those implemented, well, that injects a different calculus into the scenario that all has to be considered. It's just a big problem, and there aren't any easy solutions.
Well, with an aging population, I have to wonder if there isn't some thought behind the scenes to the catabolism defense. Well, a lot of people are not going to be here in 10 years, and it'll be a different problem and maybe easier to deal with. That might be part of the thought process going on, I think. I will say this, though.
Yeah, I just think that politics has gotten to that point. You know, it's just, we just put that off on the next guys. That's how we get in trouble. That's why we got $38 trillion in debt.
That's why we have this problem to deal with now. That's exactly how we got to where we're at. So, you know, sooner 100%. Or later, the rubber eventually has to meet the road, and you have to drive the course, and I think we're kind of getting to that point. I would like to call you out on something, though. Don't front with all of us. You're fronting with the entire state of Mississippi. If Ole Miss gets a win tonight, you're not going to be here next week. I'm going to be back in the chair, and you're going to be in Florida. Come on. We all know this, Gerard.
If we are blessed to bring home the victory tonight, I will certainly be at the national championship game. Already got registrations in for that, and transportation arranged. But I will be in next week. I got to deal with the legislature, Dave. You know that. I know you're taking care of that in my stead, but got to keep those guys honest, man. And we're in the meat of stuff. This school choice debate going on between the House and legislature is really something. I'm really pleased to see the speaker's bill. You know, we're big-time proponents of universal school choice. Here's my concern, Dave. I just want to say before we exit today, I feel like maybe we try to cram too much into one measure, which may kind of cause some people in the Senate to walk the plank, even in the House to walk the plank, where you're voting against this and this and this because you don't like that or you do like this. I'm just worried that kind of complicates this effort. I'm not trying to second guess the speaker here. He's a shrewd political operator, but I have some concerns about that.
Well, it's it's a lot harder to get a single issue piece of legislation introduced at the state level, at the federal level, anywhere, because everybody's got to pack their things in. And exactly as you said, there's got to be poison pills baked in to make sure you do what they want you to do. Not sure that's the best operating procedure, but what do we know? You're on a golf course and I'm in Summit, Mississippi. So it is what it is. Enjoy yourself out there. If the Rebels win tonight, it was a great performance by them. If they lose, it's your fault. We've decided we're just going to blame you.
From the Seabrook.com. Come on. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
All right, we are back
on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Middays in the Element Wealth Studios. Go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006. And Element Wealth can help you have a much easier time at business and life in general. One little change I want to mention. Second time we've had a change like this in regard to a sporting event with the Fiesta Bowl tonight. 5:30 out there, 6:30 time here. Airtime will be happening early this afternoon. As a result, we're shuffling things around. As soon as we get done here in about 20 minutes, Sports Talk takes over. They will go live at 1 o'clock to bring you the full coverage on a big day. And I love our promo copy here. What will be the most watched event in Mississippi sports history? I don't think that's hyperbole, Rhino. I think that's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the excitement leading up to it, the fans wanting to watch, the haters hate watching, and the general lack of really anything else outside of maybe Fallout or Stranger Things that's really attracting much attention. Yeah, it's going to be must-see TV.
The legislature, by the way, taking a back seat today, which is unusual right at the start of a session. But Senator Jeremy England, we've had him on many, many times here on Super Talk, made an announcement yesterday. He's going to be dropping a bill to require a vote to approve or disapprove municipal annexation of unincorporated areas. The way that usually works now, let's say a municipality wants to annex some area that's not part of another municipality. It's just out floating, flapping around free in the county, and they want to annex that and bring it in. Well, the board of the municipality would hold a vote and approve or disapprove annexing it and just making it part of the municipality. Jeremy England wants to put it into state law that no, that has to go before the voters. That has to go before the people, whether or not they want to bring in more land and expand a municipality. Number one, I think that's a good idea. I don't know that you can argue that it's not a good idea for something that's going to affect the tax base, going to affect the services, because your current services, whether it's water, sewer, police, fire protection, whatever, are now going to have an expanded area. I think that rises to the level that the voters deserve to have a say in that. Now, the counter argument to that is, well, the voters had a say. They elected the board. I don't know. This, to me, is a slightly different flavor of the initiative argument going on. We want the voters to elect representatives and then shut up and go home. Is the argument against this, to me, unless I'm looking at it the wrong way. I think it's a good idea that Senator England has come up with here. Might be wrong, but we'll see. Do you use AI much?
I mean, not as a constant use tool, but yeah, probably I'd say a couple times a day I may switch over to it and ask it a question to get a source on something. Or I don't use AI the way a lot of people use AI. A lot of people use AI at this point as an alternative to a search engine.
Yeah.
Whereas I look at it and I'll use it similar to a search engine, but I'm not actually looking for the answer it's spitting out. I'm looking for the sources it went to, because sometimes it can find some obscure sources that would be page 27 on a Google search, but it's more pertinent to what I'm looking for than the first 10 pages of the Google search, so it's faster to just use AI to find that source.
Well, then there's the other end of the AI spectrum. It went into effect on January 1st in Utah. They're using AI to refill prescriptions now. What do you think about that?
I mean, for probably 85 to 90% of prescription medications, that kind of makes sense, because a lot of medications are maintenance medications where unless you're feeling funny by taking the medication, or unless it's not doing what the doctor thinks it's supposed to be doing, you're just supposed to keep on keeping on. So there's not a whole lot of need for changes, not a whole lot of need to up the dose or down the dose. It just keep on going, keep on trucking. So yeah, as long as the AI can make sure you're not experiencing a problem with the medication and the doctor wants you to continue taking the medication, then yeah, it makes total sense.
The service is called Doctronic. Patients can chat with an AI doctor for free, and then for $39 book a virtual appointment with a real doctor licensed in their state. But you got to go through the chatbot first to get an appointment. And then also, when you have, I think it's 190 different medications, if you have a prescription for that, it needs to be refilled, the AI will just refill it. They had to change state law, obviously, because, you Earl out back at the Chuck E. Cheese can't just write you a prescription for something. It's a very, regulated process. I'm just going to tell you, this is coming. We hear about this. This is in Utah. It's not even, California or Seattle or someplace. No, this is in Utah. This is coming. Just get ready for it. Mentally prepare yourself, because, well, the push to turn everything into artificial intelligence continues. Like everything else, I think it's going to have some good effects, some good results, and it's going to have some absolutely horrific results, and we'll have to sort through that as it goes, but I'm not even making a judgment on it. I'm just telling you, that's in effect right now. That's in operation. Went into operation last week in the state of Utah. That's the very first one. How long do you think before that comes to Mississippi?
Considering we still have pushback on telehealth, maybe a decade.
Yeah, I figure it will be a while. We will, as usual, be one of the last ones to jump onto any train as it comes through. My question would be, where do pharmacy benefit managers figure into this?
Well, that's one thing about AI, is there are professions that will be impacted by AI that I feel like maybe some people in those professions felt protected by the amount of education it required to be in said profession. Like, there are a lot of things that doctors do on a daily basis that could be handled by AI and checked by them. There are a lot of things that go on in the legal profession that could very easily be done by AI. And then like you were saying, where you have the chat bot and then you have a doctor's appointment that you can pay for. Well, you're going to see that a lot more in medicine and legal work, where you give all the information to the chat bot. It does most of the work. It gets double checked by a human, that you pay that human for their services. But that payment is much less than your cost for their services would have been prior.
We've talked about it, you and I, a couple of things here. Number one, you talked about professions being protected by their institutional knowledge, their education, their training, their skill set, whatever, and feeling protected. At one point, blacksmiths felt that. and then that kind of just went away, didn't it? Blacksmiths still exist, but not to the extent that they used to. As things progress, as things change, well, by definition, things change. It's right there in the statement. Things change. The harder you resist, the harder your life will be until you finally go, whatever, okay, and move on.
And that's the other point about, you have a lot of people pushing back on AI because they don't want their medical decisions made by a computer. They don't want their potential freedom from jail determined by a computer. And I'm not disagreeing with them. AIs make a ton of mistakes. It's not a perfected tool at this point, and likely won't be really anytime soon. But if you use AI as a tool and you have the professional human double check it, I don't see why anybody should have a problem with that.
I got a question for you in terms of, for example, the legal profession. We'll use that one just because I have a handy term that I can throw out here. If you get a paralegal to type up a document for a client and then the lawyer looks over it to make sure it's right and there are no mistakes there, what's the difference?
Exactly.
There is no difference. It's not as big of a leap in our processes as the naysayers desperately want you to believe. Just a thought there. It is, as Rhino just said, a tool. Just because you use a word processor instead of a typewriter to write up a document doesn't make it any less valid. Next, we'll revert back to movable type, I guess. How far back do you have to go before it's valid? Right. Things change. You change with them, or you're going to have a bad time. Final segment of Middays in the Element Wealth Studios next.
Hey, this is Bob.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
What? This is so
awesome. On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Middays in the Element Wealth Studios, SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here on a big day. It's game day for the Fiesta Bowl. The Ole Miss Rebels and the losers kicking off at 6:30 our time. Sports Talk will be in here as soon as we wrap up to take over the coverage. I'm sure they'll be talking with Caleb and the rest of the gang out in Arizona from the SuperTalk Mississippi News Crew. Our coverage all day today brought to you by some fine folks: Good Hope Land and Timber, Youngling Flight, U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, Pillium Corporation, Barnes Crossing Auto Group, and the Mississippi Hospital Association. I know you like bad, sometimes cheesy sci-fi movies as much as I do, Rhino.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got one playing out. I don't know if you've seen this news. Broke this morning. They had a spacewalk planned outside the International Space Station yesterday. They called it off because of, as they put it, an unidentified medical concern with a crew member. Just after midnight, NASA updated and said that the agency was looking at the possibility of an earlier end to Crew 11's mission. In other words, they're talking about evacuating the space station because of a medical problem with one person. They have never evacuated the International Space Station, ever, in the history of the space station being up there. Never happened. What kind of alien fungus virus is up in there now?
Yeah, we've seen this movie. That's not good. When that thing gets back, you better quarantine it.
Well, that's my question. Who's the first one's going to go up and pull the door off of it? I mean, you know, some tentacled monster is going to come out. You can't say that it's a zero chance of that. Of course, they haven't identified who the astronaut is or what the problem is because of privacy concerns. They don't want, to blab everybody's information. I did find it interesting that the statement said that the single crew member is in stable condition. Now, it wasn't an accident from the way everything is phrased and written. It's a medical concern.
Well, I mean, if that happens on good old planet Earth, you'd think of anything from stroke to heart attack to something like that. But astronauts tend to be in pretty dang good shape. Like, that's part of the hurdle you got to overcome to become an astronaut. You got to be super smart and super fit.
Yes, that is an elite group of people that go to space for that reason. It's just the pool is not that large of people that check all of the boxes to make it through. And also, as evidenced by the fact, we've never really had an issue where we had an astronaut in space that had a stroke or a heart attack or any of those kind of things that you would think about. As a general rule, they've been in an enclosed situation. The last two that made it up there were back in August. No new germs have been introduced, right? I mean, the last two got there August 1st. Today is January the 8th. Yeah, so that's like 5-6 months. You wouldn't think something is just now suddenly getting passed around. So we're back to alien spore fungus taking somebody over. I mean, there's not a ton of possibilities here. It's a very mysterious thing. And it is, we use this term in inappropriate ways all the time. This is unprecedented. We've never had this conversation before.
In fairness, it wasn't until just recently in the grand scheme of things that we've had access to rockets that could get us up there on short notice to evacuate anybody, so it might not have even been on the table.
Yeah, that's true. Just never mentioned it because, well, you're done for. Nice knowing you. There's nothing we could do.
Because, I mean, remember in Apollo 13, you had the guy that was feeling ill, and there was no going to save him.
Very true. So might just be a different situation with an advance in technology. On the other hand, I think over the next couple of days, I'm going to rewatch the first season of The Last of Us as a training film.
I'm trying to think of the name of the movie. There's literally a movie that came out in the last 10 years where the space capsule lands and the local fishermen are paddling up to it, and the astronaut inside is screaming, "Do not open the door! Do not open it!" because there's a evil alien space fungus in there on him.
Unrelated note, evil alien space fungus would be an incredible band name. I would wear that merch with pride. Somebody get busy and form it. Enjoyed it as always, Rhino. I'm sure tomorrow will be equally insane. Because today's been, I haven't touched half the stuff I had prepped for. It's just been that kind of day. Tomorrow, much of the same. But we will end out the week in style. Always enjoy being in here with you, buddy.
Oh, yeah, you too, dude.
10 a.m. tomorrow morning. My friend, I'll see you then.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.